Hi, my name's Claire. I am 24 years old. I grew up in Joshua Tree. It's a small town. I always struggled with depression growing up, and I guess I just never really knew who I was. I never had a real spiritual relationship with God. I never liked who I was. And, you know, I never felt comfortable around people, talking to people. I was always really shy when I was younger. I'm still kind of shy, but I've come out of my shell a lot. And I guess I started drinking, and I started drinking when I was 13 years old. And it was mostly just as kind of a cool thing to do. You know, I didn't see it at that point as running from anything. I started using drugs when I was 15. And it was a way to come out of my shell without any inhibitions. I would feel a lot more comfortable in groups. I'd feel more comfortable singing out loud or talking to people, that kind of thing. My groups of friends were always into drinking on the weekends, or, you know, the whole drug scene. And it always just seemed like the normal thing to do, especially growing up in a small town where there wasn't a lot of stuff to do other than that. You know, that's what everyone did. Everyone smoked pot, everyone drank, everyone, you know, experimented with whatever drugs they could find, pretty much. Getting into crowds of people that were just as depressed as I was and had just as low self-esteem as I did, that really fueled that for me. And so, almost a year ago, I started taking antidepressants for the second time in my life. I guess I should preface that by saying when I was 15 years old, I tried to kill myself. I overdosed on over-the-counter medication. I was in the hospital. They didn't expect me to live, and I did. And I was in a behavioral center for 72 hours on a 72-hour watch. And they put me on antidepressants at that point, and shortly thereafter I started smoking pot and found that that worked, at the time I thought, better than the antidepressants, and so I pretty much self-prescribed the medication, or the pot. I started drinking really heavily about a year ago, and blacking out on the medication while drinking. And I was driving with two friends off-roading in my car, and was going really fast on a dirt road, hit a T intersection and hit the berm, flew off of the berm and flipped my car onto the hood. And luckily, thank God, no one was severely injured. There were only minor injuries. My car was totaled, but that was my wake-up call. From jail, my mom suggested to me that I go to rehab, and my initial reaction was, I don't need rehab, I'm not an alcoholic. So, of course, going into treatment and, you know, reading the big book, hearing other people's stories, solidified the fact that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. But before that, just reading the definition of an alcoholic and realizing that my life had become unmanageable. And during that week, I went through a lot of the first step, the surrender process, the admission that my life had become unmanageable, that I was powerless over the drugs and alcohol. So when I came here, I was basically stripped to the bone. I felt hollow. You know, when they talk about having a relationship or, you know, surrendering your will over to the higher power of your understanding. I had always had a really hard time with religion and God and all those words. I had never been raised with religion. And I thought that I had never believed in God, or that, you know, I didn't have enough proof, I guess. You know, I always felt like I needed proof of God's existence. But then when it came right down to it, I had ignored some of the most obvious signs from God that had been sent to me, or writing them off as coincidence or luck. I have a whole new family now here. The people that I've met here are absolutely incredible. You know, of course, you can't get help unless you really want to help. You know, they say step 0 of the 12 steps is if you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it. At HVRC, here at Hemet Valley Recovery Center, the people here are some of the most amazing people that I've ever met. They're so genuinely caring and loving. You know, this isn't just a job to them, it's their life. They made me see the person that I really am and that I'm really meant to be. And my family can see that light glowing from me again. And for that, I am so grateful.